Welcome you back again to this exclusive video discussion of A Most Forgiving Ape by Alan Moorehead. There shall be summary, points to ponder, discussion in native language, question and answer along with 4-level discussions of this text. I am sure all of you will accompany me till the end of this video. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe my channel, and if you think this video is worth watching, don't forget to share among your friends and fellows. Let's get going with this discussion. First of all, we have the summary. The gorilla is something of a paradox in the African scene. There are many facts we have yet to know about the gorilla. Carl Achille, the American naturalist, had 2 expeditions but could not find anything about gorillas and their family. French explorer Du Chaillu had first described the animal to the world. He said the animal is civilized. Sir Julian Huxley has recorded that he saw an 18-month-old specimen trace the outline of its own shadow with its finger. Huxley speaks too of a traveler seeing a male gorilla help a female up a steep rock on Mount Moohead. It is the humanness of the gorilla making love, filing food, making bed by interlacing bamboo leaves, which is beguiling. Commonly it is 6 feet tall with 600-pound weight. The gorilla puts his weight on legs and rests lightly on the knuckles of hands. His artistic instinct and care of the family make him closer to human beings than any other animals. The gorilla is a fish-loving animal and his species is in danger of extinction. Miss J.H. Donisthorpe, making a study of gorilla in the Moohead area, says that it has strong smell. The male makes a frightening demonstration in the face of danger and changes in extremity, but all this is no more than shadow boxing. She claims the gorilla is meek and lives at peace with other animals as a general rule because the gorilla is the most forgiving ape. It is a myth to call it aggressive. Its population now is about 50 to 200 among the volcanoes in Africa. Alan Moorehead is an assist in his traveling in the southernmost town in Uganda. During his climb through the mountains, saw footmark droppings of gorillas. 2 guides guided him. They saw a wonderful sight. There was a huge male gorilla with dignity and majesty of prophets. The best one feels is savage. The beast one feels is savage, intrinsically hostile, basically a murderer. But with the gorilla, there was an instant sense of recognition. The gorilla did not beat on his chest and charge. Instead, it lifted his head and gave terrifying barking screams and went away. His face-to-face encounter with the primate occurred for a couple of hundred seconds. The speaker could not get a chance to use his camera or binoculars. That was the end of the show. The undiscovered tradition gorilla. This could be another title of this discussion by Alan Moorehead. Now, before we begin to discuss with the points to ponder to analyze this text, let's get going with the discussion of the text in Nepali. The title, A Most Forgiving Ape. एउटा क्षमाशील गोरिल्ला. यो अफ्रिकन लेखक एलान मोरहेडको लेख हो. अब विशेष गरी अफ्रिकन परिवेशमा लेखिएको एउटा जङ्गली जनावरसँग सम्बन्धित एउटा अनुसन्धानपूर्ण एक खालको रचना. यो पढ्दाखेरि धेरै मान्छेहरूलाई एउटा पुराण, गोरिल्ला सम्बन्धी पुराण अथवा यी जङ्गली जन्तु जो मानिसका पुर्खाहरू त्यस्तै थिए तीसँग सम्बन्धित एक खालको चर्चा पनि हुन सक्छ. जे होस् एउटा क्षमाशील गोरिल्ला एलन मोरहेडको एउटा चर्चित निबन्ध हो। यसमा के छ भन्दाखेरि गोरिल्ला अफ्रिकी दृश्यमा पाइने एक विरोधाभास कुराको रूपमा देखा परेको हुन्छ। डरलाग्दा फिल्महरू तथा जोखिम र साहसका कथाका पुस्तकहरूमा पाइने नमुनात्मक दानवको रूपमा रहेको देखिन्छ गोरिल्ला। त्यसै गरी वंशानुगत भूतसँग पनि स्पष्ट सम्बन्ध रहेको पाइन्छ। तैपनि गोरिल्लाका बारेमा रहेको जानकारी न्यूनतम नै छ। धेरै अनुसन्धान भएको छैन। धेरै वैज्ञानिकहरूले उसको बारेमा धेरै अनुसन्धान गरेर तथ्यहरू चाहिँ प्रकाशनमा ल्याइसकेका छैनन्। सायद अब अनुसन्धानको कमी होला अथवा चाहिँ त्यो ठाउँसम्म पुग्न गाह्रो भएको होला अथवा त्यस्तो खालको अनुसन्धाता नै ननिस्केको होला। जस अमेरिकै प्रकृतिविज्ञ कार्ल अकेलेले 2 पल्ट यात्रा गरे तर पनि गोरिल्ला र यसका परिवारका बारेमा कोही पनि पत्ता लगाउन सकेनन्। केही पनि चाहिँ थाहा पाउन सकेनन्। फ्रेन्च अन्वेषक डु सैलुले पहिलोपल्ट यसको बारेमा विश्वलाई जानकारी दिएका थिए। सर जुलियन हक्सलेले लन्डन चिडियाखानामा 18 महिने गोरिल्लाको उसकै औँलाले कोरिएको छायाङ्कन देखेको भने अभिलेखमा लेखेका छन्। एउटा यात्रुले भाले गोरिल्लाले पोथी गोरिल्लालाई माउन्ट मुहाबुराको चट्टानमाथि पोथीलाई चढ्न सहयोग गरेको देखेको छु भनी हक्सलेले वर्णन गरेको छ। माया प्रेम गर्ने, खानेकुरा सङ्कलन गर्ने, बाँसको काण्ड अथवा पात बाँधेर ओछ्यान बनाउने जस्ता गोरिल्लामा पाइने विभिन्न मानव आचरण नै छक्क्याउने रमाइलो कुरा रहेको छ। सामान्यतया 6 फुटको अग्लो र 600 पाउन्ड वजन भएको एउटा चाहिँ गोरिल्ला, एउटा वयस्क गोरिल्लाको चाहिँ एउटा त्यसको वजन त्यसको उचाइ त्यस्तो हुन्छ। 6 फुट अग्लो 600 पाउन्ड वजन। मिस जेएच डनिस्थफ जसले मुहाबुरा क्षेत्रमा गोरिल्लाको अध्ययन गरेका थिए उनले भन्छन् गोरिल्लाको कडा तिखो गन्ध हुन्छ। भालेले खतराको अवस्थामा डरलाग्दो प्रदर्शन गर्छ, अति भएको अवस्थामा आक्रमण पनि गर्छ। तर यी सबै कुरा छायामा बक्सिङ हाने जत्तिकै हुन् किनभने गोरिल्ला अति नै क्षमाशील बाँदर हुन्छन्। तिनीहरू आक्रामक हुँदैनन्। तिनीहरू एक्कासी आवेशमा आएर आफ्नो नजिकै आएका अन्य प्राणी अथवा कुनै मानव जातिलाई चाहिँ सोझै गएर आक्रमण गर्दैनन्। आफ्नो एउटा खतराको स्थिति आयो भने उनीहरू त्यो क्षणमा पछि पर्दैनन्। तर चाहिँ गोरिल्ला एक हिसाबले क्षमाशील बाँदर हुन् भनेर चाहिँ अनुसन्धानकर्ताहरूले बताएका छन्। र यो एलन मोहेडले पनि त्यही खालको चाहिँ विश्लेषण गरेको पाइन्छ। युगान्डाको एक सहरको दक्षिणतिर यात्रामा रहेको अवस्थामा निबन्धकारले गोरिल्लाको पाइतालाको चिन्ह गुहु अथवा बिस्टा देख्छ। 2टा पथ प्रदर्शकले निर्देशन दिइरहेका हुन्छन्। तिनीहरूले एउटा अचम्मको दृश्य देखे। एउटा सन्तको शालीनता र गौरवमा रहेको एक विशाल भाले गोरिल्ला देखियो। कसैको विचारमा त्यो जन्तु जङ्गली स्वभावले आक्रामक र आधारभूत रूपमै हत्यारा जस्तो देखिने हुन्छ। तर त्यहाँ देखिएको गोरिल्ला अति नै परिचित जस्तो देखिन्थ्यो। त्यसले छाती पनि पिटेन। रिसमा आक्रोशमा उसले छाती पिट्थ्यो र अनि चर्को आक्रमण गरेर चाहिँ अब त्यहाँ आइलाग्न पनि सक्थ्यो। तैपनि त्यो छाती नपिटेको हुनाले ऊ चाहिँ त्यहाँ आक्रोशित भएको होइन कि र मान्छेप्रति ऊ एउटा रुसाएको होइन कि भन्ने भान देखिन्छ। अनि अब टाउको ठड्याएर डरलाग्दो कुकुर जस्तो आवाज निकाल्यो उसले, एकदम एउटा आवाज होइन। त्यसले के हुन्छ भने आफूभन्दा फरक प्रजातिको अथवा अन्य प्राणी अथवा कुनै केही खतराको चाहिँ सङ्केत हो कि भनेर उसले चाहिँ त्यस्तो खालको भुकेको अथवा त्यस्तो आवाज निकालेको हुनसक्छ। अनि यहाँ के छ भन्दाखेरि छाती पनि नपिट्ने, आक्रमण पनि नगर्ने, अनि टाउको ठड्याएर कुकुर जस्तो आवाज निकाल्ने र अनि पछि सर्दै गर्ने। यसले के हुन्छ त भन्दाखेरि ऊ आक्रमणमा छैन कि क्षमाशील चाहिँ एउटा आफ्नो विशेषता उसले चाहिँ त्यहाँ प्रदर्शन गरिरहेको हुन्छ। त्यो दृश्य सकियो तर लेखकको मस्तिष्कमा त्यसको रूप सदाको लागि स्पष्ट रहिरह्यो। त्यही सदाको लागि स्पष्ट रहिरहेको हुनाले नै के भयो त लेखकले चाहिँ यहाँ यो निबन्ध लेख्न भ्याए। अब उनले चाहिँ यो अनुसन्धान त्यो खालको चाहिँ त्यो ठाउँमा नपुगेको भए हैन 1959 मा यो निबन्ध लेखिए पश्चात गोरिल्लाका बारेमा धेरै कुरा जानिसकिएको छ हैन। अब यो पर्वतारोहीका मन मस्तिष्कमा छाप बनाएका आक्रामक हिममानव गोरिल्ला भन्दा पनि बढी अस्पष्ट नबुझिने रहेका छन् भनेर भन्छ। अनि अर्को चाहिँ एलन मोहेडले जङ्गली जनावर देख्दा हैन डर र अत्याधिक हर्ष महसुस गरेका छन्। अनि उनलाई त्यो गोरिल्लाले आक्रमण गरेर उनी घाइते भएको भए अथवा उनको जीवन लीला समाप्त नै भइसके भए हामीले अन्यको माध्यमबाट पढ्थ्यौँ। तर चाहिँ मोरेडको विचारमा गोरिल्ला सिंह वा गैँडाभन्दा आधारभूत रूपमै फरक हुन्छ है। अनि मोरेडले गोरिल्लालाई धार्मिक मान्छेको जस्तो गौरव र सम्मान सहितको प्राणीको रूपमा पनि प्रस्तुत गरेका छन्। अनि असाधारण जनावर जस्तै ब्वाँसो सिंह गैँडाप्रति हामीले एउटा नबदलिने विचार लिएका छौँ। त्यो नबदलिने विचारको स्रोत के हो त भन्दाखेरि हामीले अब ती बारेमा अनुसन्धान त गरेका छैनौँ। अरूले अनुसन्धान गरेका छन्, यस्तो यस्तो हुन्छ है भनेर चाहिँ त्यो कुराहरू विवरण वैज्ञानिक तथ्य विवरणहरू चाहिँ प्रकाशित भएका हुन्छन्। ती पढ्छन् र अनि त्यो आधारमा यस्तो हुनुपर्छ है भनेर उनीहरूले जानकारी दिएको आधारमा हामीले उनीहरूप्रतिको निकटता या अलिकति फरकपन अथवा अलिक चाहिँ उनीहरूबाट पर बस्ने त्यो कुराहरू हामी गरिरहन्छौँ। केही जनावरले विशेष मानवीय संवेदना उब्जाउँछन् भन्ने मुरहेडको भनाइप्रति हामी अब अधिकांश चाहिँ मान्छेहरू हामी सहमत नै हुन्छौँ। किनभने अब मुरहेडले गोरिल्लालाई राम्रोसँग अध्ययन गरे। अनि त्यो जुन एउटा वयस्क गोरिल्ला उनीमाथि आक्रमण गर्न आएको भए पनि त्यसको अनुभूति त उनले लेख्थे नै, तर चाहिँ ऊ एउटा त्यस्तो चर्को स्वर निकालेर अनि फर्क्यो र अनि आफ्नो एउटा के अरे आफू आक्रामक भएको, आफू रिसाएको, आफू जङ्गिएको उसले केही पनि देखाएन कि। अब अर्को मोरेड भन्छन् गोरिल्लाको वास्तविक जङ्गली अवस्थाको तस्बिर आजसम्म लिएको छैन। र वास्तविक जङ्गली अवस्थाको तस्बिर मान्छे लिएका छैनन्। त्यो अध्ययन गर्न मान्छेहरू कसरत छन्। अहिले त नेसनल जियोग्राफी, डिस्कभरी, एनिमल प्लानेटहरूमा यस्तो खालको चाहिँ त्यही वैज्ञानिकहरूले, त्यस्ता विद्वानहरूले, प्रकृतिवादीहरूले चाहिँ गएर अनुसन्धान गरेर त्यस्ता एकदम शक्तिशाली क्यामेराहरू त्यहाँ फिट गरेर उनीहरूका सबै गतिविधिहरूलाई चाहिँ निहालेर अहिले चाहिँ विभिन्न च्यानलहरूमा चाहिँ अहिले हेर्न पाइएको छ। जोस् अब कति कुराहरू चाहिँ अझै पनि हेर्न बाँकी नै छ। मोरेडले स्वयंलाई बसेर समय बिताउने अधवैँसी मान्छेको रूपमा वर्णन गरेका छ। अब यो उसले चाहिँ अब जति अनुसन्धान गर्यो, जति ठाउँमा गयो, जति ठाउँमा मान्छेहरूको जनावरहरूको बारेमा बुझ्यो, जति कुराहरू चाहिँ गर्न सक्यो, जति जानकारीहरू पस्कन सक्यो, त्यति नै चाहिँ उनीहरूले एउटा पाठकहरूले, दर्शकहरूले अनि त्यसपछि एउटा प्रशंसकहरूले त्यसबारेमा चर्चा गर्छन् र अनुसन्धानताहरूले पनि त्यसबारेमा उल्लेख गर्छन्। मुख्य कुरा के हो त भन्दाखेरि हामी त्यो विषयवस्तुमा कतिसम्म लाग्छौँ भन्ने कुरा नै हो। अब आजको यो चर्चा यो मोस्ट फर्गिभिङ एप, एउटा क्षमाशील गोरिल्ला, एलन मोहेडको एउटा हामीलाई सूचनामूलक, जानकारीमूलक, एउटा प्रकृतिसँग सम्बन्धित र एउटा चाहिँ महत्त्वपूर्ण प्रकृतिसँग सम्बन्धित एउटा महत्त्वपूर्ण सुन्दर प्राणीको को अध्ययनको बारेमा हामीले यहाँ पढ्न पाएका छौँ। ओके, द्याट्स अल विथ द डिस्कसन of the text Most Forgiving Ape by Alan Moorehead in Nepali. Now let's go with the points. Here are some points to ponder while studying and analyzing this essay. Gorillas were myth animals as in horror movies of 5 scores years ago. The myths about gorillas are being ferocious and brutal is not entirely true. Gorillas live peacefully in their habitat. Miss Donisthorpe's study reveals gorilla is a most forgiving ape and has human-style living. The speaker's first-hand account too shows it is not as aggressive like a lion or rhino. Okay, let's get started with the analysis. The essay is mainly a narration of how the author managed to closely observe the gorilla in its wild state in Central Africa. The purpose of this essay is to warn the world that the gorilla, which is the most forgiving ape, is facing the danger of extinction due to ignorance of their significance to the earth. Through this essay, Moorehead might be trying to tell us that one should see the wild animals in its natural habitat. Then only one can make the correct picture of him in one's mind. The knowledge based on second picture is not reliable. The sight of the gorilla in its wild state is a great source of pleasure. This essay might be trying to give the message that one should see the wild animal in its natural habitat. Then only one can make the correct picture of wild beasts in one's mind. The knowledge based on second picture is most reliable. The sight of gorilla in its wild state is the great source of pleasure for natural lovers. The writer seems impartial in describing the gorilla. The way he shows enthusiasm of gorilla, the difficulties it faces in climbing, its drowsiness and happiness look real. However, I have some reservations not to agree when he says that he wanted to go closer to get introduced. Could he have really gone closer had the gorilla stayed longer? In fact, this is an excellent essay. The writer's description of the huge shining gorilla is so impressive and powerful that one gets going with the lines stopping one's breath. The wild species all over the world are endangered. They are at a point of extinction because of tribesmen's encroachment of their habitat and poaching them indiscriminately. Nature maintains a delicate balance between among plants and animals of the world. But we should take serious steps towards their preservation right now. The tapestry of the earth's beauty misses otherwise. If we go on showing the indifference to these animals, we will be removing thread after thread from the complex tapestry of life until finally nothing will be left on the earth. A most forgiving epic is mainly a narration of how the author managed to observe the gorilla in its wild state in Central Africa. The purpose of writing this essay is not to entertain the reader, but to warn the world that gorilla, so lovely an animal, is facing the danger of extinction unless some effective measures are taken. The title itself is arresting. It promptly arouses the reader's interest, for it sharply contrasts with the stereotyped image of the ape. The author describes gorilla in various aspects: charming looking, forgiving with human qualities, being butchered by tribesmen, etc. The writer proposes some effective measures must be taken to protect this rare and beautiful animal. There is a further picture of how the touring party got closer observation of the gorilla. It develops in time sequence in the natural process of climbing from the foot of the mountain to the point where they saw the gorilla. In the course of description, the author also gives a vivid depiction of natural surrounding at every stage and includes episodes having to do with the fatigue, fear, and joy with a humorous touch. All this makes the essay an excellent piece of composition. Okay, here are some questions that we have to apply the 4 levels of reading with the text, and let me get started with literal comprehension. Few know much about gorillas. No convincing photograph of these has been captured so far. Carl Achille, an American naturalist, led 2 expeditions to no avail. A French explorer, Du Chaillu, first described this animal a century ago. He said the animal is civilized. Sir Julian Oxley has described how a traveler saw its human-like behavior. It is said the gorilla loves and establishes like humans. The animal tends to live in family. It feeds in a group, in the bamboo group, each making its pile up food. At night it makes a springy bed of bamboo leaves. The father makes his bed a foot or 2 above the ground, the mother a little higher, and the children on the branches. A full grown male in 6 feet tall is 6 feet tall. His weight sometimes 600 pounds. The gorilla puts his body weight on legs and rests lightly on knuckles of hands. Miss Donisthorpe recently made a study in the Moohehead region. She says that the animal smells like a mixture of human sweat, manure and charred wood. The animal has good eyesight. The female screams when alarmed. The male gorilla utters a roaring terror. Sometimes he will beat his chest and shake trees in anger. He will change only on extreme case. Miss Donisthorpe says all this is just shadow boxing. She claims the gorilla is meek and lives at peace with other animals and is a most forgiving ape. It is a myth to call it aggressive. In Africa, its population now is between 50 to 200. The speaker has a thrilling adventure with the gorilla. Once he made a team of his companion and two Swahili boys. It had started from the extreme south town in Uganda. The two guides were as untiring as the gorilla. They reached a hill above 10,000 feet. The speaker had difficulty in breathing and walking. His strength had to resist if he had to have a glance of the animal. The guides were very aware, watching around. Finally, they reached a group of nests. They found gorillas had long moved from there. In complete silence, they climbed still higher. At last, they came across a giant male gorilla to find it as described by Miss Donisthorpe. The speaker found it not harmful or aggressive as other wild beasts like rhino or lion. It hinted to attack to see the stranger. The gorilla looked tall like a philosopher. The speaker did not have the impulse of running away. Lastly, he had a terrifying scream. His face to face with the animal occurred for a couple of 100 seconds. The speaker, in fact, could not get a chance to use his binoculars or camera. Then it moved first, difficult for human to chase. The speaker had a brief first-hand view, but had wonderful experience and satisfaction. Okay, this is the literal comprehension. Now here is interpretation. This essay might be trying to say that one should not see the wild animal in its natural habitat. Then only one can make the correct picture of him in one's mind. The knowledge based on second-hand information is not reliable. The sight of the gorilla in its wild state is a great source of pleasure. Here is critical thinking. The writer seems impartial in describing the gorilla. His enthusiasm, difficulty in climbing, drowsiness and happiness look real, but I don't agree with him when he says that he wanted to go closer to get introduced. Could he really go closer if gorilla had stayed longer? Insert. This is an excellent essay that describes the peculiar characteristics of this primate called gorilla. Assimilation. After reading this essay, I learned a lot of things about gorilla. My knowledge of gorilla was based on horror films. I used to think that he was a monster. I came to know that he is really a most forgiving ape. Having read this description or essay, my thinking about perception about my outlook about this gorilla changed. The writer's description of the huge shining gorilla is so powerful and impressive that I read the lines without stopping my breath. I visualized everything he described and so happy. I also knew that wild species all over the world are at point of extinction. They are endangered. If we don't do anything right now, we shall miss the natural beauty forever. Okay, this is 4 levels of reading with the text. Now there are some textual questions. The first textual question here: much has been learned about gorilla since this essay was written. Look up some of the information. Is it true now that the abominable snowman who haunts the imagination of the climbers in the Himalayas is hardly more elusive than the gorilla? Is the gorilla species as a whole still threatened by extinction? Much information has been obtained since the writing of this essay, that is in 1959. Gorilla belongs to the species of great apes. Males are heavier and larger than the females. They become sexually mature at 6 to 9 years of age and bear a single baby. Different kinds of races of gorillas have been found in African forests. They make nests in trees each night and sleep with their babies. They live in family together, having a male leaderly gorilla. Like other animals, they have been also threatened by extinction because of the human activities, human encroachment. Their natural habitats are being destroyed by human beings to make films, to take pictures, to observe the natural side, and so many other human activities. Because of curiosity being aroused by different exploration and articles, gorillas are not safe, and the number of them is decreasing day by day. People are studying snowman and gorilla equally, but they have more achievement in exploration of gorilla than snowman. Snowman is still very mysterious and no true description has been found yet. Therefore, it is true that abominable snowman who haunts the imagination of climbers in the Himalayas is hardly more elusive than the gorilla. Like Alan Moorehead, have you ever experienced awe and jubilation upon seeing an animal or plant or mountain or anything else in the wild? Once I was with my friends into the dense forest of Fatehpur. We enjoyed watching different plants, animals and hills nearby. The river bank had added charm to the beauty of nature. We were totally in romantic mood. We did not notice that a huge monkey was preparing to attack, to snatch bananas from our hands. We were looking at the still blue water of the lake. The sky was reflected beautifully in the water. Fish could be seen in shoal. Suddenly I saw movement in water. Some leaves from a tree beside the lake had dropped. I looked up. Before I could do something, the monkey jumped on my hands of my friend, snatched the bananas, and jumped on the branch of the tree. It was very huge and wonderful male, with short hair on the head. Black, deep sunken eyes were slightly looking and winking at us. Although it was frighteningly huge, we had awe and jubilation upon seeing the wild animal. In spite of being wild, it was loving one with an instant sense of recognition. Why, in Moorehead's opinion, is a gorilla fundamentally different from a lion or rhinoceros? According to Moorehead, when we saw a lion or a rhinoceros closely in its wild state, the only desire that comes in our mind is to turn and run away for safety. But when we see a gorilla, we want to go forward towards him to meet him and know him. We feel that the lion is savage, hostile, and a murderer, but the gorilla, there is an instant sense of recognition. We may be badly frightened of him, but we feel that the animal will recognize and understand us. At least we do not want to turn and run away. Moorehead says that no real satisfactory photograph has ever been taken of a gorilla in a wild state. How does this assertion help explain his decision to see a gorilla? Why doesn't he take a photograph when he sees one? Did Moorehead's essay succeed in giving us a portrait of a gorilla in a wild state? In the zoo, people might have seen the gorilla, but in the wild state, he was not closely observed by anyone. One knows very little about him. Even his satisfactory photograph has not been taken. So it was natural for the writer to make a decision to see the gorilla in the wild state. When he sees the gorilla, he does not take a photograph because he thought tangled undergrowth might stop him to take very good photograph. Above all, He did not like to lose contact of the animal event for a second. He wanted to see him naturally and he wanted to see him whole. Do you agree with Moorehead's suggestion that certain animals provoke special human emotions? How can the instant sense of recognition he feels towards the gorilla be explained? There are many animals which provoke human emotions. The cow moves when she sees the cowherd, and the dog wags its tail when he is closer to his master. The cowherd or the master is bound to show his emotions. The instant sense of recognition can be explained in the following way. Although one is badly frightened, one likes to make some gesture, utter some sound, and one feels that the animal will recognize and understand. Okay. With this description, with the discussion, I have come to the end of my today's discussion of Most Forgiving Ape by Alan Moorehead. I am sure you got the points. If you have any queries, please don't forget to subscribe my channel, and you will get your queries when you put them in my comment box. I shall be back with other important videos exclusive for my students. Till then, have a nice time.